I've gone ahead and I've printed off all the downloads that I've given you with your cutting and scoring instructions. Now, it's up to you whether you want to use these or not. I've printed off a monthly planting tracker. I've got a little garden map planner. I've got my little cards, my little fertilizer cards, my watering cards, and I've also got in here my tags. So my tags that have the information and my little to-do lists. So there's quite a few sheets there. So it's up to you whether you want to use those or not. And what I want to show you is what I've done with them. Okay, so let's just, so we had one of our blank pages. So here is one already completed, and I'm going to show you how we're going to go through them. But I just wanted to show you first of all. So here you have the lovely removable tag. You've also got like a little plant stake as well, just tucked in there. And on here you can put information like your plant name, etc., when you planted it out, any care and tips and stuff. And then on the back I've just stuck a little to-do list. So all the PDFs that I've given you will cut down onto the sizes to fit the album. So you don't need to do anything with them, you just need to print them off. Okay, so we will make a tag. Okay, I'm just going to tuck that in there. And then on the inside, I've added a little name card. Now, my handwriting is dreadful, so I have printed these out. And again, I've put a Word document on there just with the sizing of the lettering that I've done. But it's up to you. You can go straight ahead and just handwrite on the name of the flowers. So here are my little flowers. And I've tucked another tag in there as well, so you can put these in, or the labels, you can put those in. And then I've put in one of these little bags. So sometimes, like when you've finished with the seeds, if you've torn the seeds, they can potentially go everywhere. So I've just tucked in a little bag just to sort of go in there as well. So I'm just going to tuck those back in there. So this is what we're going to be doing. And then over this side, now this is like my little storage envelope with my little fertilizer cards and my watering cards. Now I've done these on paper, okay, but you can print them off on card, it's your choice. But to be honest, they're probably going to get thrown away, so I'm saving my card stock and just done them on paper. But here we've got a little watering can and a little fertilizer. So the idea is you store your spare cards in there, and then the ones that you're currently using for that month can be tucked in there as well. And then when we turn over onto the back, you'll see that there's a place to put a photo of your finished flower or vegetable, whatever it is that you're growing. So you can put a nice little photo in there. And then there's a little box down here which you can either maybe add another photo, or you could do a little bit of journaling, you know, maybe, you know, where you're happy with that, how it turned out, etc. So this is what we are going to be making up, and it repeats itself on all of the rest of the pages that we've done. So it's just a carbon copy. Obviously I've changed the papers around and everything else and the name of the flower, but you get the idea. And I've just put a little tag here as well, because then when you're working out in the garden, or whoever's working out in the garden, they can remove the tag. They've got their basic information and they can sort of use that rather than keep taking the garden planner out all the time. So that is that. So I think what we'll do is we'll make a start. So I'm just going to pop that to one side. So let's get a blank one. Okay, now we'll start off with the back piece. So here I've pre-cut some of this stuff already, okay, and I've just got to see where I've cut these. All right, that's the one that's going in the back, and then we've got the little bit to go on the front. So I'm just making sure I've got these in the right order. So I'm just going to tuck these in where I want them first. That one is, I know, is going to go right onto the back. And then I've got the two flowers here and the dots. So I might put the dots in on that one and maybe have the pink flowers or with the little bluey flowers going on the outside. Let's just check to see. I haven't done it. So I'm just trying to make sure that I'm not matching up everything with the other paper so that it is all, well, it looks random. And then we've got our little pocket, which we're going to make here. Now you'll notice that I have put in some tuck spots, okay? So when we come to those bits, we'll get the die cuts out and then we can do that as well. So now I know roughly where all my papers are going to be going. So I'm just going to clip those on there. Okay, and then this one is just going to go on the back, so leave that there for a minute. So let's start off with this one first. So as you can see, I've just, again, corner rounded it to follow through. I didn't bother doing my faux stitch at the bottom, and I'm literally going to stick that in and going to stick this one on the front. So I always do my pockets first and then I can line up the back of the pocket with the front. So let's just put this on like so. And again, just checking to see, is it directional? Well, no, not really. I'm just going to pop that on there. And again, I'm leaving about 1/8 of an inch all the way round. Now I've stuck that one in. So this is the easy bit, sticking these bits in. Okay, there we go. Right, so I'll just slide that in, just making sure that those sides line up with the front pocket. Make sure they're nice and straight. I've got about 1/8 of an inch gap at the top, and that is straight, not quite. There we go. Right, it's just before I stick this down properly, I turn that round. Right, okay, I think we're there. And just find my Bernie. Where's my Bernie gone? He's gone for a Burton, my Bernie. I don't know where he's gone. All right, I'll push that down and just smooth that in. So that is that bit done. Okay, I'm just going to tack another little bit of glue in on there, like so. Okay. Now, before we put the cuts in and everything else, we're going to make our little pocket. Okay, so let me just get my little mat and the scoreboard. So as we're making a little pocket, I'm going to score on the 2 short sides and 1 long side. So just getting this bit ready to add to our page. And my red liner tape. Let's just pop that up there out of the way for the minute. Okay, where are we? Just going to pop that on there and snip, and then we're going to do the same on here and round on the last side. So we've got all 3 sides done. There we go. I really need to find my Bernie. There he is. He was hiding. Here we go. We're going to Bernie burnish. Okay. Now, my flowers that are going to go on my pattern paper that's going to go on here, when you look at this one, I've had to cut it and punch the hole all the way around. So I'm going to stick this bit of paper on first and then do the punch. So let's just get my ink out, because I don't think I went round. No, I didn't. Right, I'm just going to give this a little... I am doing all 4 sides for the minute, and then when we've stuck it on, then I can go in and finish off the last little bit. So we're just going to... Now, you don't have to put a notch in here, and if you don't want to do that, I suggest that you make your, or you cut the paper cards a little bit bigger, just so that you can get to them. If you haven't got a notch punch, then you can use half a circle punch. So we're just going to line that up, make sure that that is fairly straight. Okay, and then my notch punch. Right, I normally take this bit out so I can see clearly in here, and I'm just going to bring that down the 2, and I'm just going to make sure that I've got even spacing across. So you could measure this if you needed to, but I think looking at that, my paper is a little wonky. Just take that off and re-glue that on. It's funny, isn't it? It's not until you start to do something else that you can see that it's out of line just slightly. So let's re-stick that before I punch it in. There we go. Make sure I've got the flowers going up the right way. Right, is that straight? Yes, that looks better. Okay, right, so re-stick that. So where were we? Right, we're going to punch this through, and I'm just going to line it up. And what I'm doing is I'm just looking at the distance from the edge of the punch to where the score lines are, because once the score lines have been folded round as well, it just makes it a little easier. Right, okay, we're going to go for it. Bang. Right, there we are. And now I can go round and do my faux stitching before we stick this on. Okay. But like I said, you don't have to do your faux stitching. You don't have to cut out a notch if you don't want to, but I just think it just makes it easier to get the little cards out. Okay. Always tricky going around a curved bit, so always do 3, then turn it, and then do 1, 2, 3, then turn it. 1, 2, 3. And turn that. 1, 2, 3. Trying to get it as even as I can. 1. Right, okay, and now I can carry on going around the straight edges like so. Okay, and then this is our pocket prepared, ready to go on to our page. Right, just come all the way along. There we go, nearly done. Okay, so that is our, oops, it's me kicking my scoreboard over. Okay, so as normal, we're going to cut across to where those scored lines are and give ourselves a little wonky bit. And I'm going to do the same where those score lines cross and come over. But for this particular one, because this is going to be sitting on top of patterned card, obviously the paper that I've got I can't tuck in because the pocket is smaller. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take off like almost dog ear, and I've just taken that cut up to where that score line is, so it doesn't look as predominant as it would if they were there. Okay, So that's where we're at, and now I can sort of go in and fold that ready, and we're just going to give that a little score down like that, or a little burnish rather. Okay, and that is our little pocket, which is going to sit on there. So the next thing that we need to do is grab my die cutting machine, and we're going to cut in all our little tuck slots and everything like that. Right, so I've grabbed my dies and my die cutting machine. So I'm using the lovely Cool Cats Craft dies. I've got my little curved pocket slots, and I'm going to use the smallest one. So I'm just getting that out ready. Okay, and I've also got the angled slot ones as well. I'm just going to tuck them there for a minute because I will need to come back to those. So what we're going to need to do is we need to use this twice. We're going to cut in a little tuck slot in on the inside one, and also one on the outside one. Okay, and so I think I decided I was going to have this on the inside. Now I'm going to take this as close as I can to that edge. So let's just pop that on there. I did have a little bit of purple tape stuck on the outside. There we go. Okay, so I'm just going to line this up. So I'm taking those almost to the edge. There's just a little bit of breathing space, as it were. So I'm just going to tuck that on there. Okay, let's get the right plate underneath it for cutting. 1, 2, 3. There we go. And we're just going to cut this through. Now, if you don't have one of these die sets, then what you can do is cut, make a marking around with a like a curved edge, and cut that like that if you wanted to. So let's just check to make sure that has cut through. So that has. I'm just going to gently peel that off. Let's just get my little pokey tool because I want to keep the inside part. Okay, so we're just going to get all the die cutting done now. So that's one bit. So I'm just going to pin that together like so on that one. So that is the one that is going on the inside. Okay, so now this one is coming on the outside. So I need to put this on exactly the same, but the opposite side. So again, I'm taking that over as close as I can, like so. I'm just going to pop that in the machine. There we go. Oh, I've gone around the long way. Never mind. That's it. Let's see how we're doing. Let's just pop that to one side for the minute. See whether that has gone through. Yes, it has. I love these dies. They're just brilliant. Okay. And again, I'm just going to pop that out. So there we go. Gently tease you out. Okay, right, I'm just going to peg you to that. Okay, so now we've done those two bits. Right, so we're going to pop that die away before we lose it, because you know what it's like. And everything, when you get your desk all in a mess. When you're crafting, I know I do, I get a bit carried away and I pull everything out and then I can't find anything. So now we're going to do this one, which is the 2 angled slots. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to line that up there, and I'm using the square one and the smaller rectangular one. Okay, Now this paper it's not directional, so doesn't matter too much. But what I'm going to do is just going to place this on the top here, give myself a little bit, I think I'll come down about 1/8 of an inch, and I'm coming in just inside those score lines, or the dotted lines, a little faux stitching. And then this one, again, I'm coming up about the same distance. And I'm just going to overlap that slightly with a bit of a gap. So I'm just making sure that I've got this nice and straight and level, because once I cut these, that's it, there's no going back. So I'm just going to tack that one down for a minute. So that looks relatively straight. This middle bit looks a little bit wonky, so we're just going to line that up with the other die, and I'm just going to stick that down on there. And then what that means is that when I come to do the other ones, if I leave those two dies stuck together, I'll get the even spacing right the way throughout the rest of the album. Okay, so we're just going to pop this back through. There we go. I'll bring it back this way. There we are. I'm going to tuck that away for the moment. And now I can lift those off and just see how that has, and that has cut those in beautifully. Okay, I'm going to leave them on there for a minute because I don't need to do anything with those just for a second. So I'm just going to pop those up out of the way. Okay, now that we've got these cut, let's come back to our page, and I'm going to stick this one down. So let's just take that one off. But again, when you're sticking anything down, I need to tuck something in there just to prevent it from being glued to everything else. Let me just grab a little scrap. That will do. So I'm just going to tuck that in there because that's what's going to hold our little paper pieces. And I'm just going to put a little bit of glue right under there so I can add the glue, and then we get this stuck down. So a little bit of glue going around the edge. That's it, round. Like so. And now I can just take that piece out. Turn this over, I'm just going to stick this down, and I'm just going to line it up in those corners where I've already given it a nice punch, and make sure that's nice and straight and even. I think that could probably come up just a fraction, but you know what, can I move that? Yes, I can. Just take you up just a fraction. There we go. Just trying to line it in with my pocket. Obviously it's not going to line in up here because we've got two different lengths of card. Okay, that will do. And now I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on here and put that into our tuck spot. Like so. And let's just pop this in like so. Get the first bit in, and then you can just drop that round. So now that's sticking down, and while that is drying, I'm just going to give that a little bend and just tuck that in there, just so that none of that glue squeezes out and sticks to our little tuck spot bit. Okay, so now we've got that bit done, let's just come back to our little pocket. So our pocket we're going to pop up here. Now the reason I've put it up high, because I could have put the tuck spot up there, is that when we fold it over, you've then got the same thickness on sort of both sides, if you see what I mean. So that's why I decided to pop it up there. And just to make sure that we've got the same measurements coming down, I'm just going to measure how far down I put the pocket. Oh, there's my small ruler. Oh, it's got hidden. Right, okay, so I'm just measuring from that top bit. So I've come down 1 inch from the top of the paper. Okay, so that's where my guide is going to go. And I'll put that down there. So I'll just run that along. That's 1 inch. Okay, so I'm going to peel off my red liner tape. Going to add a little bit of glue for wiggle. Little wiggle. Right, let's turn this round. Just make sure I've got this centered before I do that. So I'm coming down 1 inch. And my pocket, just centering it. So I'm just using the ruler just to make sure I get this centered. Right, okay. So I've got like 1/8 of an inch that side, 1/8 of an inch that side. So hold that and drop that down. And there we go. And that just clears that top bit, but it gives us enough room for pulling bits and pieces out. Okay, now I'm just going to add a little bit of black tape so that when we're popping the cards in and out, it's going to make it a smoother transition, providing your tape doesn't get stuck together. Right, I'm just going to tuck a little bit of tape on there, and now I can peel off the rest of these bits, these red liner bits, and then that's our inside pocket done. And then now that will come up and we're going to clip that down on there. So now we've done our inside, that should be dried. So the only thing left to do on the inside here is our label. Right, so we're going to do our label. Okay, and as you can see on the black card, I've already gone round and done the corner punches on those, so that will sit nicely on there. Now with the words that I've put on, I've printed mine off on card because, like I said earlier, my handwriting is dreadful. So, and I've just cut up the sheet. Okay, and this is what I'm going to use to trim down to fit onto our label. So to try and get this as centered as possible, the height of our label is 1 3/4. So what I want to do is find my 7/8 of an inch mark, which is this one just here. I'm just coming in from this angle here, and I'm centering that almost centered to the actual word. Okay, and I'm just going to trim that off, and then that means that when I cut this one, that should now be 1 3/4, and it should give me, fingers crossed, that's centered into the middle of our bit of card. And now we just need to do the width part, which is 2.5 inches. So I'm going to come in and find 1 1/4, which, because the O is centered letter to my word here, I'm going to make sure I've got the 1 1/4 inch coming in like so. And now when I turn that round, I can cut that at 2.5, and hopefully that will have that as centered as I possibly can. Okay, and now I'm just going to corner round like I did before. So I'm just going to pop those through in there on the corners. There we go. Let's just get rid of that rubbish. And I'm just going to go round it and do a little bit of faux stitching before I stick it down onto our actual label base, just in case I mess it up, which can happen quite a lot. But yeah, we're just going to go round, curve that round there a little bit, doing small little dashes. There we go. And this should just finish it off. Now you could, I suppose, if you wanted, because I printed these labels off on a computer, you can have any style really of lettering. You could make it a little bit bigger or smaller, it really doesn't matter, but I'm just using this one. I quite like this one. Had a little bit of flair to it, but not so that you couldn't read what the name is. There we go, and we're just coming round to that last bit. Okay, so that's our stop. So I'm going to glue this on like so. There we are. And we're just going to turn that over. And we're just going to pop that on there. And again, I'm leaving about 1/8 of an inch all the way around. Let's just adjust that slightly. Okay, there we go. And now I can stick that onto our pocket like so, and then that is pretty much the inside decorated, done. I'm just going to pop that on there, and again just making sure that I'm centering that as best as I can. There we go. And then obviously the stock flower packet seeds will go in there. All right, so that is the inside done. Now on the outer edge here, we've got our other panel that we cut. And again, the flowers are non-directional on here, so I can stick this down. I'm going to open it up so I can actually see the edge of the paper, because sitting it there like so, it sort of loses itself and I can't see it clearly. So I'm just going to add some glue. And again, I've got my little card bit to tuck in there so I don't put any glue where that is showing. I'll just run that along. Like so. So we're just repeating what we did on that other panel. Okay. There we go. Just going to take that out. Bring that over. So just checking to make sure I've got it up the right way, which I have, and now I can line that up like so. Don't panic if you've cut your slot going the other way. It's not going to make that much difference. But it just, because we're just going to have the pocket tuck into that. Make sure that that is, now that's well, not quite got enough glue down that edge. Let's just tuck a little bit in. still sitting quite nicely. Just stick that down. There we go. And now I'm just going to add some glue and put in our little cutout. There we go. I'll get my tweezers. Let's just open that up. I'm just going to grab that. And again, I'm just going to follow the line round. Get that in situ first, and then I can lay that down. There we go. And now we've done that, I'm just going to lift that little bit and tuck that in just to keep that glue from drying on the other bit. Okay, so now we're at the final panel piece here, which is our back, which has got our slots, our angled slots. Okay, so I'm going to leave that together. So that gives me the measurements for the other ones. And I've got my little journal card and my little photo mat. So let's just take one out of each of these. And the little journal card. Now the journal card, I mean, I've cut it out in black and then I've put white paper on the front. You could cut the whole thing out in white card if you wanted, but I just like the way that it just finishes it off having that black trim. So I'm just going to tuck these in. So we're going to do like we've done before when we come to do the glue, so we can see where that's going to go. Okay, I'm just going to tuck that in. There we are. I'm just getting these to work. Okay, so that is, they're all in and set. And now I can see where I need to put my glue. So I'm just going to do that. Just going to run this glue along the edge. Into those corners. And now I can come across the middle. Like so. Okay. But again, if you don't have these dies, that you could just cut some slots with a knife, and I would personally do a little template so that I would get the same measurements every time. Right, okay, so I'm just going to see how that is sitting. Okay, so we're almost done, just apart from cutting up our little bits. So the last thing to make really at the moment is the tag. So let me just show you the tag. Okay, so here's the tag, and I've pre-cut out the patterned papers, and then we're going to cut out our tag on that. So there's my tag size, which is 3 inches by 6 inches. So let's just grab one of these, and I'm going to grab one of my cards. Now you could again print these out on print them out on white card. I've just done them on paper, and it's up to you whether you keep the black line in or not when you come to cut these down. Right, we just need that. So I'm just cutting on the black line, so I'm just keeping that black line in. So, and just, or you can cut these by scissors if you need, if you find it easier. But there we go. And I suppose the other thing is that if you're cutting these out, or if you're printing them out on white card, you don't necessarily have to have the black bit behind it. You know, it's your choice. And we're just going to trim off those little bits and that bit. So I'm trying to sort of just cut on that back line. Let's just see how we're doing. Not too bad. And I'm just going to get my corner rounder and just corner round. I think these are more the middle size on my corner rounder, just to help take those bits off. Okay, and I will just go round with the black just to cover up any white bits that are missing from my, it's just me being a perfectionist. You don't have to do this, it's just me and my OCD. Just have to have it in a certain manner. Right, okay, so my tag I'm now going to place on here, and I'm sort of going to centralise that. So let's just glue that down. Okay. You can use glue or tape pen. It's really, doesn't matter what you use on here. Right, okay, so I'm just going to centre this on that bit because we are going to trim round. Okay, I'm just going to stick that down. Okay, and now I'm just going to bring my ruler and I'm going to line it up where the white bit is, and I'm just going to trim round about 1/8 of an inch all the way round. So I'm just going to do all the straight bits first. Okay, there we go. Just straighten that up. That's it. And the bottom. So I think this will, I possibly mentioned it earlier, but I think this will make a lovely gift for somebody. Or if you are an avid gardener, you could make yourself a couple of these albums. You could have one for your flowers and maybe one for your fruit and veg. And then obviously you can decorate it accordingly. Okay, so now I've gone round and done all 4 sides. I'm just going to come it in and corner round, just so I get that nice finished edge on there. Okay, and then on the other side of here we've got the to-do list. So let me just find my to-do list. So again, printed it out on sheets of paper. It's just, I am getting into a bit of a mess here. Hopefully you can't see it too much. She says just scrape it out the way. And I'm just again going to cut on the black line. There we go, that's one. Gonna come round. And now if you wanted, you don't necessarily have to stick these onto the back of your tag. You could have these separate if you wanted. I think again it's just giving you options of what you can do with these. Like so. And we're just going to turn that round on this side. Okay. And now, again, I'm just going to add some glue and I'm going to stick that down. on there. There we go. Just going to take this off. Just going to centre that. There we are. Okay. And now I just get my crocodile, or as I call it, my crocodile, and I'm just going to punch the hole in the centre, like so. And I've got some lovely baker's twine here, but you could use string if you wanted. Oops, like I said, everything is a bit of a mess now. Okay, so I think I cut this roughly about 10 centimetres. Let's get my scissors. There we go. Don't need that anymore. Right, and then I literally just fold it in half and push that through. Got my little tag bit there. I'm just going to tuck those in. And there we are. And that is our tag. So now the tag is just going to tuck inside there. So we're almost done. So we need our flower seeds. So these are all my lovely flower seeds. So what one do we need? My stock one. So I'm going to tuck that in there. I could put one of my little bags in there, and then my little water and watering and fertiliser little tickets. I'll just pinch these out of this one for a minute. So yeah, we'll just see you've got a little watering one there and a little fertiliser there, and then I can put in my spare ones on there. And the pages for those, you get, I sort of just cut here. So I literally just cut round each of the black squares on the outside, and use that size to sort of tuck in. But there we go. And that is our page done. So now, and with the tags, so now we just need to go ahead and finish off the rest. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've now finished decorating all the pages for our album. And as you can see, I've got my seeds, I've got my labels, I've got my little tickets in here for my tracking. Just a word to the wise that when you cut down these, is do cut them against the little black line so that they sit in the pocket nicely. Here we've got the back, and I've done my tag, and I've also done my to-do list on the back there as well, put in my little plant marker. And the other thing I was going to say was as well, is that the label. Now, if you plan to reuse this year on, year out with new plants, okay, then what you can do is put your actual label onto maybe some Velcro, or you could put a couple of magnets behind it so that you can take it off, and then you can put a new label on with new seeds, etc., etc. Okay, so that's my thought process on that. And also on the back here, where you've got the place photo here, so you could remove the photo. You could also remove the journaling to go with it. But if you didn't want to, and you just wanted to have this as an all-round garden planner that basically were just going to be used for once because you're gifting it, then what you could do is actually, rather than slotting these, you could actually stick these straight down onto the back, so you wouldn't have to worry about putting your angle slots in. And the other thing I forgot to mention was that if you don't have these angle slots, but you've got like the little photo corners, then you could pop those on as well. But the journaling can be removed, or you can have that stuck down fast. It's up to you. Okay, so now we've got all those pages done. Before we can actually put together our album, we need to just do a couple more things. So I'm just going to put them to one side. Now, here is our album cover that we that we made. And as you can see, we've got the 2 flaps here. I've already tucked in my little monthly planner and garden map there, just as to know that that's where they're going to be going. And what I thought would be nice is that if it's a planner, you might want to add a pen to it, okay? So what I've done here is I've cut a 4.5 inch by 1.25 inch strip, and I've just scored down on the 4.5 inch side 1.5 inches and 3 inches, with the view that we're going to glue those 2 bits together so your pen can slot inside and out quite nicely. Okay, and then what we're going to do is attach this to the back part of our album cover on the inside, so it's under the flap, because don't forget we're going to put paper, patterned paper, in under there, so that will cover up any mechanisms. You don't have to do this, okay, but I've got like the little marker that will mark all the plant name holders, so, or you could just put an ordinary pen in, but it just wants one just to sort of tuck in quite nicely there, okay, and it won't interfere with when we come to do the closure for the ribbon. So we'll just have that up there a little bit. So I'm going to glue this down so it's ready, but like I said, you don't have to do this, okay, this is just another optional extra. Okay, so I'm just going to pop that in, and I'm just matching up where those 2 score lines are, so it just gives me that nice rounded edge to that there. So I'll just give that a second to bond, and because it's part of the mechanics, as I say, for our album, I'm just going to, oops, that wasn't very good, was it? Unstuck there. Right, let me just put a little clip on there for the minute. There we go, just to hold that in situ. Now we just get the red liner tape ready. There we go. Right, so let's hold that in place. And then I'm just going to put a bit of red liner tape on one side so it will fix down nicely on our back of our album. I'm just going to snip. There we go. Right, let's just see if that's stuck now. Yeah, it looks like it has. Well, I'm just going to pop that on there. There we go. Like so. Right, I can get rid of those now. I'm just going to peel this off, and we're just going to stick this down. So we might just add a little bit of glue, just a little bit of wiggle room as we do this, just so we can get it in the right position. There we go. Right, okay. So I've got that nice little round bit there ready for the thing. So I'm coming in so that score line just sits on the edge of our planner, and I've just come down underneath where that fold was, which we stuck the flap down with. So just hold that up so you can see. So that's just where I've popped that in there, and then that will slide our pen in. Okay, that will probably drop down a little bit more. There we go. So that will slide in just nicely. That still closes, and we've got that on the outside, and then our ribbons will come in from the outside, and then that will tie that around and secure that as well. Okay, so let's open this up. And I think what we'll do is we'll decorate our inside covers, and then we're going to put our pages in. And the reason for this is because the pattern papers that I've used, I want to make sure that I don't clash with what I've got on the pages. All will become clear in a moment. So we've got 2 pockets. So I might put dots on that one, but have the background going in with the dots on there. And then I've got that one there, or you could have them identical, but I've mixed and matched it all the way through, so I'm going to sort of carry on with that. So I'm quite happy with that. And then as that comes down, I think what I'll do is I'll have that on the outside, this one on the outside there. So again, it's mix and matching. And then on the inside, let's just open those up. I'm going to swap those around so they match in with the pockets. And I think that's how we're going to stick that down. So let's just do this. And then we can start looking at our pages. Right, so I've just stuck that one down already, and we're just on the last bit. So I've just stuck the first flap part down. Just make sure that these do line up across, even though I know it's going to be at the back of the album. I just think it lends itself to that extra little bit of quality check, as it were, if you know what I mean. Okay, and I'm just going to put my little flowers on. So again, I always put the pocket on first, and again I'm just checking against that front one so I can see how that is doing. And now I've got the big piece to go in the back, so this is now going to cover over our pen holder that we've just put in. I'm just going to add an extra bit of glue on that because I just want to make sure that that's going to stick firmly down. Okay, and I'm just going to tuck that in and slide that down. And that just sits, I can feel that sitting just nicely on there. And I'm just going to bring that over, like so. Just get rid of that last little bit of glue there. So that is now firmly down. And our final part is just coming up here. And then that is our inside of our album cover sorted. So we're just going to pop that on there like so. And again, just checking that I've got the same distance and that they're lining up. There we go. All right, so that's our front and our back of our album covers done. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm just going to pop in here. I've just printed these off and trimmed these down to fit. So it's my little garden map planner. So I'm just going to tuck that inside one. Again, I've just printed it out on paper. You could print it out on card if you wanted. And then this is my monthly planting tracker. So I'm just going to tuck that one in. Yeah, a nice little snug fit, but there we go, they go in. And also you can put more of the tags in. So for example, if you was gifting this to somebody, you could put some spare tags in one of the pockets, and maybe, you know, some of the other elements you could sort of tuck in if you wanted. Right, so let's have a little look then at the pages to try and work out which ones I want to put on the front. Now, obviously, this is a bit that you're going to see at the front here. And I don't necessarily want that front and centre because I've got the dots there and I've got the dots there. So that one might just sit in the middle. So I'm just going to lie these down. This one has got these flowers on, which same colour but slightly different design. So I might tuck that one in the middle. Let's have a little look. This one's got the big ones on the outside, so we'll just tuck those in because they'll link in. Right, now this one has got the blue flower or blue and white flowers on there, but the dots are on the back, so you're not necessarily going to see that. So that could be a good one to go in at the front. And this one has got the blue and white dots at the back, or we've got the darker blue. So I might tuck those in. So we've just got something looking a little bit different there. And then when you look at this one, you've got those there. And then when you open that up, you've got a slight clash, but not too bad. Okay, so let's just swap those over and see how that works. I think that's just going to sit in there, and then that one's going to go in on the back, and then these can sort of slot in the middle. So again, just changing it up. So each one of these has got some of the papers on it. So that's got the dotted paper on the back, but this one doesn't have any dotted paper at all. So that would be a good one to match. And then the one at the back, it's got that blue paper in there, but it doesn't have the dotted paper, and it doesn't have that one in there. So I think that one would be good to go on the back. So they're the two back hinges. And then we've got these coming in the center. So because they are similar, I'm going to swap those around and have them going around that way. And I think that is us done. So now we've sorted out the order that we're going to put them in, we're now going to attach them. So right, so we're going that, so we're going taking it down and going that way. So this is our first one that's going to come in here. So now that I know which order I'm going to do, I'm going to put my red liner tape here on what is the back part, because this is going to adjoin to the hinge on the left hand side of the hinge. Okay, and that will stick down like so. Okay, and I have given these a good backwards and forwards fold on that score line just to help with that. So I'm going to run some lovely red liner tape down here. This is what I love, is when it all starts to come together. And I always sort of do my albums this way round. I just find that sometimes when you've decorated your papers, that you can allow for that movability around it when, whatever you like. Right, okay, so that's going to sit on there. So I'm going to peel this off. Now you could, if you want to, add a little bit of glue to help you stick that. But these hinges and these pages are designed to fit exactly snug together. So what I'm doing is I'm lining up the edge of the page to the edge of the hinge on both sides. I've got the bottom part here resting right up into that crease of that hinge, and then I'm literally just going to lift that up, bearing in mind I'm still keeping that as straight as I can, and that will now catch. And now I can just run my finger along there, and as you can see, that one has now been added. Okay, so now this one is going to be coming this way. Okay, so because of that, I know, whoops, I now need to add the red liner tape on this side, because it's going to adjoin the other side of that first one we've put in. So let's just run with some red liner tape all the way down here. Now the beauty of the design of any of my albums using this hinge system, if I've not told you before, is that if you do make a mistake, okay, you can get a heat gun and just run it down the side of the hinge of the page that you want to remove. And the nice thing about that is that you will only take out the one page, as opposed to having to take out the album. So I'm just going to tuck that in, make sure that's lined up, it's sitting at the bottom of there, and we are in. And now I can seal that down. So already I've got my first couple of pages in. Okay, now we're going to come round to the third one, and you're just going to repeat all the way through. So I'm just going to make sure that that is folded back. If you find it easier to do this without all the bits in, then obviously take them out. So that is now going to sit in on the third side. So let's just add some red liner tape to here. And if by chance you happen to put the red tape on the wrong side of your hinge, of your page rather, before you attach it, okay, so that's going in there. But if I'd accidentally put it on that side, then all I would do is is cut a strip of black cardstock and just recover that, okay? And then you can just sort of move on. So don't panic. These are all little things that, I'll be honest, I've had to do. Making these albums. Right, so let's just peel off our red liner tape. There we go. And again, I'm just going to tuck it in, line it up with the edge, and let that come up and join in. There we go. That's it, so it's got a good seal. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, just give that a good crease down. That's it, that's working. Okay, and now the other side is coming in here, so the red liner tape is going along on there, so we're just going to tuck that in. Plus, and I know sometimes after time, some albums, you know, glues start to sort of lose their stickiness, shall we say. You know, by having one page that's easily attachable to the album, if you need to take a page off and re-glue it, you can do. So it's not the end of the world. Okay, right, so I'm coming in on side 4, like so, and again I'm just lining that up, making sure that is straight, and just attach that to there. There we go, and just give that a nice firm press down. Okay, all right, and then our final side is coming in on here. So this is going to come in on this way. So I'm just going to fold that hinge. I don't think I thought I'd folded all the hinges, but obviously not the bits on the page. Right, okay, so that is going to attach like so. I'm just going to run some red liner tape, and then we are almost done. I think that is a little bit close to the top. We'll see how we get on. Might be able to roll that down just a little bit. Right, okay. Let's try and peel it off now. Come on. Right, let's do this the other end. That's it. Got it. Okay, all right, I'm just going to fold that down, drop that in. So this is now side 5 going in, and I'm just going to lift that, and that should be fairly flat against that. And then our final side, oh, we've lost our little tag on that one, tuck that in, and then we're in on our last side here. Okay, let's just give this a quick fold, like so. There we are, and this is going to attach on that side. And that is almost our album done. And then we've just got the front cover and that to do, and put our ribbon on. Okay, so I'm just going to run that down. A good snip, like so. And I'm just going to give that a good press down, like the last little bit. Oops, it's sticking to me. I'll take that tag out for a minute. Okay. Here we go. And again, I'm just going to line that up against that hinge edge. Lift that up. And there we are. And that is our final side gone in. I'm going to just tuck that in there. Okay, so let's just have a little look and see how that's doing. It is a little bit, it is gaping just a little bit, because don't forget you've got your pockets of, or your packets of seeds in there. But once we've got our ribbon on, that will hold that in nicely in place. Okay, because all the seeds are falling to the bottom of the album covers. But you can go in and now you can open up and you can get your packets out. So these will fold back flat. So you could open them all up in one go if you wanted. There we are, like that. You could have all three open up like that. And then you can fold those over. And then that sort of just tucks in nice and neatly. Okay, so now just the covers to do. Right, so I've selected the ribbon that I'm going to use, and these are the papers that I'm going to be putting on the front. So I've got this one which has got the nice blues and pinks and yellows, and then I've got the dots to go on the spine. And the ribbon that I've used, I've selected is this nice blue, and it does match in quite well. And it's got the little dots on there, which sort of is a nod to the polka dot on the back. So I've gone with this. Now this is a little gadget. Don't know if any of you have seen this before. So we are memory keepers, and it's like a little heated wire, and it will trim and burn and seal the edge of your ribbon. So I'm just going to pop that in there. I'm just waiting for that to warm up a little bit. Hopefully, I'm just going to put that down. I'm just going to hold that in situ for a couple of seconds and see whether it's done that. There we go. So I've just put it in at an angle, so it's just sealed that bit. Okay, and then I'm just going to do the same on this one. Just very quickly drop that down, hold that in situ for a couple of seconds. And there we go. So now we can see that's cut. Right, I'm going to turn that off because I think that's interfering with my light. So I'm just going to take that off. There we go. Okay, so that's heat sealed those two edges. And what we're going to do is that I'm going to put a little bit of red liner tape, about an inch in, because I want plenty of length to be able to tie the bow on the other ends of the heat sealed bit. So I'm just going to pop that in there. So probably the easiest thing to do this, because the ribbon can be a little bit slippery, I'm going to cut off about an inch of the red liner tape and just stick it down. I find these are, well, using the red liner tape on ribbon is a lot easier to fix it down. Right, I'm just going to cut myself another strip like so. I'm just going to pop that on there. Okay, give that a good press down. And now what I need to do is mark the center of my cover. So let's turn this around. So the cover itself was 7 inches, so that should be 3.5 inches is my center point. So I'm just going to put a mark on there and bring that along like so. And then the ribbon, it just gives me something to center. Let's just draw that on there. It's just going to give me something to center that ribbon on. I'm going to turn that over and I'm going to do the other side. So coming down, so 3.5, and then bring that out just a little bit more. It's a rough estimate. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to choose one of these, and when I pop this on, actually I'm going to take that line a little bit further out so I can see it. There we go. So when I stick this on, now I can see where it needs to go and where the centre point is. Now, when we stick this down, I don't want that red liner tape to come right up against that edge, because we've also got to allow for when the paper goes on that there will be 1/8 of an inch gap going all the way round. So I'm going to bring that red liner tape back so it comes back just under that 1/8 of an inch. So I'm just going to, so that's where the red liner tape ends. I'm coming in a little bit and I'm using that line as my rough center point for my ribbon. Oops. Okay, so that is stuck on. And now when I fold that back out, I'm clear of the red liner tape. You can't see that. And now if I flip that over, and I can do the same on the other side, like so. And again, that's where the red liner tape is. My finger is, that's my sort of center line. And again, that now clears that. And hopefully she says that they are a pretty good match. So when I tie that together, that's going to hold that in position. Here we go, like so. There we are. Okay, so that's got our point there. Right, so I'm now going to pop on the front paper and I'm going to decorate the outside as well. So let's just get some glue. And once, there we go. So I'm going to start with the front. Oops. Okay, and I'm going to sit that on. Now again, I've corner rounded, so I just want to make sure that I get that sitting nice and straight. And now when I come to do the side, I can use where I put that front panel as to where to line up the spine and then the back. So we'll just stick these on. Okay. Just going to centre that. It needs to come up just a little bit. There we go. I got that centered. And then the last side. And our album is almost done. There we are. And I'll just put that last little bit on. And again, I'm just lining up. Come over just a fraction. That's it. Right, okay. That is our album cover done. And now it's just a case of what we're going to put on the front. Now I did cut out, well, I printed off and I've put in the in all the PDFs and everything. And I've printed this off on card, and I've actually done a My Garden planner, so I can stick that on the front. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut round that black edge, and because it's on card, I might just mount it and stick that on top, or I might put some other coloured card behind that. But there we go. So that is our album done, and then we've got our little pen that will slot in there as well. But yes, I think that looks good. So I'm just going to cut this out and show you what I mean. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've cut out my garden planner. Okay, now obviously if you've got dies and you want to use those to decorate your album, that's absolutely fine, but I just wanted something a little quick and easy, so I'm just going to pop that on there. I've already stuck some foam behind it just to sort of raise it up, or you could just plonk it on flat, I suppose, if that's what you want. And you could also, you know, double mount this, maybe put this on a coloured card or something like that to go underneath. But I've decided for this video here that this is what I am going to do. Okay, and because I've got my centre point here now, I can have this centred to the middle of the album. I could have it up a little bit and maybe put a picture of a flower there, but I'm going to just plop this down, just gently check to make sure that we are relatively even, and just going to line that up before I push those foam dots down. Okay, and there we are. And that is our planner done and finished. And then we've got a space for our pen, our little tags and everything else as well. So I hope you've enjoyed making this. Please do check us out on our Facebook page, and also check out our website, craftywafty.co.uk. And yes, please do like and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, because every little bit helps us to grow our community. So take care, and I'll see you next time for our next project. Bye.